We are very excited to have returning to the show Blue Jays reporter and insider for Sports Illustrated, Mitch Bannon. Welcome back to the show, buddy.
Thanks for having me as always, guys. It's always fun to come on.
Patreon.com/the Walk-Off Podcast. $4 a month gets you in there.
If you're watching this right now and you haven't hit the like button, Billy, get on it. Bug your brother. Tell him to do the same.
So Eric Swanson, acquired from the Mariners for Teoscar Hernandez, obviously, and he's already been showing that he truly is an impact arm in that bullpen. In your opinion, he's probably the highest leverage arm outside of Romano, eh?
Yeah, probably. I think that's
I know you're a Jimmy guy, but just on the circle of trust, I feel like Schneider probably leans to him as their number two, eh?
Yeah, I think that's safe. We've seen him get a lot of those like secondary save opportunities, like, oh, we're up by 4.
Yeah,
we'll let Swanson get these. He's kind of been the closer too, for sure.
You look at the strikeout rates of this bullpen, and they have 5 guys currently above the league average for bullpen strikeout rate. How big is that for John Schneider? That was kind of an Achilles heel of the team last year, but now they do have guys who can go out in that high leverage situation and get a K. How important is that to a team?
Oh, it's super important. You don't have to play defense if you strike guys out. So it really just takes a whole third of the game out of the equation if you're striking guys out. And so I just think it's nothing bad can happen with the strikeout is the easiest way like that. Like you can't drop a fly ball. You can't mess up a throw. There's a lot bad things can happen when balls get put in play. So it's just the safest and easiest thing. So that's why strikeout relievers are so relied upon. They're the easiest and safest option, and they make a manager's life really, really easy. And so a thing with Swanson I think is important is he's been really good against both lefties and righties. Like that splitter plays so well against lefties, and for a bullpen that just has Tim Mesa thrown from the left side, having kind of that second weapon against lefties. Trevor Richards is in the mix there too, allows them to kind of attack a bunch of different types of pitchers or hitters, sorry.
So speaking Eric Swanson, Teoscar Hernandez returns to the Rogers Center with the Mariners, I should say. What do you think his reception is going to be? It should be pretty warm, is my guess.
I would hope so. Like,
yeah, right?
A good soldier for the Blue Jays. He played really good baseball. He's like a development success story. They traded for not a whole lot for him. He struggled at the big league level. He got sent down. He really figured stuff out in the minors, came back, made all-star teams, won Silver Sluggers. He is a good story, and he's really close with, obviously, Vlad and a lot of other guys on this team. So I think like you see Vlad kind of joking with like Yandy Diaz, who he's clearly friends with on the Rays. I imagine there's going to be some good shenanigans in the field if Teoscar gets on base and it's Vlad at first and Teoscar standing on first base. I think it'll be fun, but there's also, this is kind of like a revenge series, so it'll be interesting to see how the rest of the team kind of takes it.
Will he get a warm reception from the Blue Jays fans in Toronto there? Like standing ovation, curtain call,
I would be really shocked if it was anything but a good. I bet he'll get a video tribute. I bet there'll be a good clap for him on Friday.
I expect him to come out for a curtain call in the 4th after he hits a home run so that the Jays can come back. Do the reverse on him. Obviously, everyone's eyes on the mound as Luis Castillo and Alec Manoah go head-to-head, right? A rematch of Game 1 of the wild card. What do you expect to see out of Manoah in this start? Do you think he can repeat this good outing and the positive vibes he had in New York?
I think it's an underratedly really big start for Manoah. Like he didn't look phenomenal in those first couple starts. Even the good one against Kansas City, the control was certainly not there. So it's big, obviously, for his season. Can he kind of build off that Yankee Stadium start? Can he once again look like the more 2022 Alec Manoah? But I'm sure there's some demons facing this Mariners lineup for him as well. Like that first inning, he hit Julio Rodriguez with 2 strikes, and that inning really kind of fell apart for him. So it's a challenge both from building off of his last start and also facing a lineup that got him last time he faced him. So it's 2 challenges mixed into one, and therefore will be a big day for Manoah for sure.
You mentioned this big game, Demons with Seattle. His last 3 big games. The playoff series, stinker. The season opener, stinker. The home opener in Toronto this year, stinker. If he goes out and throws another stinker in this game against the Mariners, what kind of long-term narrative starts to develop around Alec Manoah? Is he a big game guy?
I think
like still too early in his career, and we're just overreacting.
And looked at those, but like I think then I've thought about those exact same 3 starts, and I've said and written that exact same thing about kind of a guy you would think would be a big game starter has not lived up to the expectations in 3 of his biggest games. But you look back to his major league debut, like that's probably the biggest game of this guy's life, and he absolutely shoved against the Yankees. You look at last week in Yankee Stadium, he has 4 really bad starts. His season really seems like it's spiraling. He bounces back and absolutely shoves. So I think it's kind of picking and choosing around to maybe the big games to say he's not a big game starter.
He did pitch well in the All-Star game.
Yeah, true. He got a good big inning starter. He was good in that one. So I'm not necessarily worried about that narrative. I do think he is a guy that can get a little fired up. Like I think he'll be the first one to tell you that he gets pretty fired up on the mound, and that works for him a lot of the time. He's super competitive. He reaches back for that little bit more. And I think he's got a good mound presence. So it definitely works for him. We've seen it work against him at times. I think that 0-2 pitch to Rodriguez, not to dredge up the bad memories, but that 0-2 pitch in the wild card game is the perfect example. He was trying to do too much. He was trying to run that sinker in a little too much. And so instead of starting his game off with a strikeout, he starts it off with Julio Rodriguez standing on first base after hit by pitch. So I think he's got to kind of find not necessarily a middle ground, but he's just got to learn to use his energy always as a positive and not let it get away from him sometimes.
So the Mariners had some really bad news come their way in the last couple of days. Robbie Ray is going to have season-ending surgery, which is a real hit to this rotation. Is this still a team that will compete for a playoff spot, in your opinion?
I think they're in a lucky spot where they tried to trade Chris Flexen all offseason. He was in trade talks all offseason, and they just couldn't find a deal. And now Chris Flexen's going to be a really big piece for them because he's going to be in the rotation probably for the rest of the year. They're lucky in that respect. And like Robbie Ray would have definitely taken them to the next level, could have been a big playoff starter for them. But they look like a playoff team to me. Jared Kelenics having a really, really good year. Teoscar,
isn't he?
Field. Like, I think they're definitely a playoff team. I think they're a very similar team to the team they were last year. I would expect them to be right there in the wild card race. And so I don't think it'll hurt them too much. It'll hurt for sure, but I would still expect them to be there at the end of the year.
I do like the acknowledgement of Kelenics' good season because he has been my example. I've probably kicked the horse too many times of being a can't miss prospect who missed after the clunker
you just gotta have patience sometimes. Sometimes they figure it out.
Yeah.
We always have listener questions for you, Mitch, so we're going to get to those in a second here. We really appreciate your time. I do wish to just end on your opinion on Zach Gallen. The guy, I mean, and it's looking like he might be literally quietly a top 5 starter in all of baseball. He's gone 28 innings pitched without a run. Last season, he went 44 and a third innings pitched without a run. I know Jays fans and a lot of American League fans just don't see him enough, which is one of the cool things about the balanced schedule that's coming out, is we will get to see guys like Gallen. Is Gallen on your radar? How good is Zach Gallen?
He's kind of been on my radar from like more of a fantasy baseball perspective for the last couple of years.
Mm-hmm.
Like I've seen him kind of break out. He's been on my radar. And then last night, I don't know, I'm sure you guys saw that like weird change-up cutter pitch. Like he's a pitching ninja guy for me. You see him pop up on those. I don't know if I've ever
all the time
sat down and watched a full start of his though. I think I agree that's like a big positive of this new schedule is I'm just going to see a bunch of players and a bunch of teams that I wouldn't otherwise have gotten to. And the Diamondbacks, especially with kind of the Lourdes and Moreno connection this year, our team is definitely looking forward to seeing.
Yeah, me too, man. And I'm it's funny because with me, I'm the same way with Gallen. I just haven't sat down. I've seen him a couple times for a game, but I haven't sat down since he's really kind of taken that next step and watched a full game. It's all, I mean, we were lucky enough to have Rob Friedman, Pitching Ninja, on the show a couple weeks ago, and like just the amount of content he puts out where it's Gallen this and Gallen that, like he really is a special pitcher, and I am excited to see more of him.
Yeah, same.